Why should you visit thechairshot.com? Thechairshot.com is your home for hard-hitting reviews, news, opinion, and analysis with attitude. Why? Because you're smarter than the average fan. Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Hashtag Miranda Show. I'm your host, the ring announcer to the stars, your Twitterless heroine, the most professional podcaster, and of course, the queen of soft style, Miranda Morales, here with you again for this week's Hashtag Miranda Show. I'm really happy to be hosting this week. It's my show. I'm always happy to be here, but I'm happy to be with all of you, whether you are watching this on YouTube through the Chairshot's YouTube page or listening to this on your favorite podcast streaming platform, or maybe you're listening to this at the place that started it all, thechairshot.com.
Chairshot.com. Always use your head.
Yes. Just go to chairshot.com. I mean, I could do some fancy plug and something very elaborate, but if you want reliable news, analysis, and information in the world of pro wrestling, and even in some other areas in sports and entertainment, you can go to thechairshot.com.
Chairshot.com. Always use your head.
And, of course, the Hashtag Miranda Show is a proud member of the Chairshot Radio Network. And, on the radio network, you can find some great podcasts for your listening enjoyment, including the podcast that my co-host is on. He is the kingpin of the Chairshot.com. He's also the host of the Greg DeMarco Show. You guessed it. That's Greg DeMarco.
I mean, saying that I'm the host of the Greg DeMarco Show might have given it away, but I like it.
But it's also like the truth, right? You are the host.
Sometimes, we overcomplicate things, and sometimes we keep them super simple. And you just kept it super simple because, that's just how,
No, I don't roll so.
Some of the baddest motherfuckers on the planet are on that plane.
Some of the baddest motherfuckers on the planet are on this show.
Are on
that plane.
That's right.
Yes, not on that plane, on this show right now.
Some of the baddest motherfuckers on the planet are on that plane.
It's Election Tuesday, and we keep playing stuff from Money Play. I say we, I mean I, but you're here, so whatever.
Yeah, no, because it's the royal we,
Royal we.
I still feel, so we had a topic on the Greg DeMarco Show in which we elected a new wrestling president. You're going to have to listen to it, but I also started to dive into the world of Parliament. I don't know anything about Parliament. I don't know. I don't even know how it functions, but I know they have lots of arguments and the gavels. And
I know that you are prone to getting sucked down a YouTube rabbit hole or two. And so Google Saturday Night Live Parliament and just have a blast.
Just have fun with it. Yes, yes.
This is back when Saturday Night Live was really good as well.
Oh, man. Those are the days.
It is.
This is such good shit.
There's some good stuff there.
You know what I also was watching earlier this week that reminded me, man, I missed it when it was good. But of course, this past Saturday was Halloween, October 31st. And of course, with that Sunday coming by, whether it's before or after, you usually get a Simpsons episode of Treehouse of Horror.
Yep.
And, oh man, 31 this year, which definitely makes me feel old. But also, man, they weren't that great. They haven't been that good for quite a while.
It's hard to do anything well for 31 years, which is why people shouldn't complain about WWE as much as they do. It's hard to be at the mountaintop for 35 plus years. I mean, we just had WrestleMania 36. And most people consider the WrestleMania era to be the big era for WWE. We just had WrestleMania 36. So it's hard, and none of us could ever do what they've done.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, if we judge the WWE as harshly as we judge The Simpsons, maybe, or
vice versa, maybe.
Yeah, vice versa, I guess.
If we judge The Simpsons as harshly as we judge WWE, they probably wouldn't still be on the air. Both are on Fox, though, and both are bringing in lots of money. So
yeah. Who knows? So, so tonight we have a very fun topic, one that's a throwback. But it's probably one of my favorite matches, I guess, in hindsight. I mean, in the exact moment, I'm not sure where it falls, probably not in there, but this is one that I remember watching it and thinking, oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is a crazy match. And I'll go into, why I picked it, especially for today. But we are going to do a throwback. We're going to be talking about a specific WWE match that has happened, and share our thoughts on it, especially because not all the action happened in the ring. There was other things that were happening around it, maybe with the crowd, that has left more of an impression with us than the match itself. But before we get into tonight's topic, well, we got to remind you all, especially if you are living in the great state of Arizona, about NAV 30. That is being presented by IZW Impact Zone Wrestling on Saturday, November 21st. We are also now in November. We are literally weeks away from NAV 30. That is a celebration of the influence and impact of the Navajo warrior, one of the most historical, and again, I don't mean it in a old way, just with a wrestler who's had a huge influence and impact history within professional wrestling, not only in the state of Arizona, but really across the West Coast and even across the U.S. We are honored to be able to have this event to honor him and also present some amazing wrestling for you. Wrestling has been limited in the state of Arizona for most of this year, so we're also using this opportunity to provide a show to the wrestling fan base in Arizona that really makes wrestling so much fun. It also makes it just a big community and a family. IZW is a family, and so we would love to have you there. It is going to be at the Sun Studios of Arizona in Tempe. Tickets are still available, very limited for VIP. And again, VIP includes a special VIP match. It has been announced that it's going to be Tyler Citrion and Evan Daniels. The man himself, the Navajo warrior, will be providing just a small brief speech prior to the match explaining why he selected this match for the VIP match. And we are also going to be doing a Q&A. It will be facilitated by yours truly, Miranda Morales, and doesn't matter. You pointed the other way.
Yeah, but I think when the video actually processes, it'll be the right way. It's weird because you see yourself backwards on Zoom, and I see myself backwards on Zoom. So you just didn't point to me. You actually pointed the other way. So now point the other way. Watch, point the other way.
And it's to you.
And we're not pointing at each other.
I do this with Najir with StreamYard, so that's also another. Anyways, side note.
It's weird.
But yes. But yes, we will also be doing a Q&A session that's going to be facilitated and hosted by me, Miranda Morales, and you can ask the questions that you want to know the answers to directly to the man himself, the Navajo warrior. Make sure you check out IZW on social media. Match announcements and talent announcements are continuing to be made, letting you know who is going to be part of this event. And tickets are available on IZWWrestling.com. So
yeah, it's I'm so excited about it. And look, VIP's almost sold out. We're down to just a handful of tickets left. When I say a handful, I mean literally a handful, like one hand on one hand. And it's just I'm thrilled about that aspect. Ticket sales are limited for this show because of what's going on right now, and we want to keep everybody safe and secure, but also provide a show they can enjoy. And so what that means is, and I talked about this on the Greg DeMarco Show because it kind of hit me, we're probably going to be turning people away at the door. And I hate to do that, and it's bad business to do that, but that's the world we live in right now. So, and it would suck for me to have to go up there and be like, I'm sorry. At Monster, we had standing room only. I had to go to the front table and tell Jen, who runs the table and does an amazing job, we are out of chairs. If people want to come in, they can still buy a ticket. We discounted the remaining tickets, or the tickets at that point, the entry fee, but they're going to have to stand. And they kept coming in. Like, that's the crazy part about it. People kept coming in. I don't even know exactly how many people we had because you can't base it off the money because the ticket prices were different. But we had a lot of people there, and they were standing, and they were happy, and they enjoyed it. I can't, in good conscience, do that on November 21st. Maybe in February I can do that again at Monster 2.0. I don't know. I hope I can. I hope the world is in a place where we can do that. But I know I can't do it on November 21st. So go to izwwrestling.com. Buy your tickets now. There's only a handful of VIP tickets left to get the bonus match and the Q&A session that Miranda was talking about. The rest of the show will be available for anybody with general admission tickets. Buy them. Enjoy the show. Come out. Forget about the craziness. Be safe. Wear your mask. Have fun. And be there for a night of history, a night that's going to represent history and also make some history, celebrate the impact and influence of the Navajo Warrior, have some fun with friends and family you probably haven't seen in a while, and just enjoy wrestling for what it is, wrestling, and what it is in this state and what it is in this world, and come do it with us. And trust me, it's money well spent. It's going to be a good time. And IZW only takes place 4 times a year, only twice a year in 2020, but normally 4 times a year. And so it's special anyway. We actually recently had a conversation reaffirming that we're never going to go off of 4 times a year because we want it to continue to be special and because it's gone so well with this one. So just come out. You won't regret it. It's going to be a blast, and it'll be a night you never forget. So, and I'm suddenly by myself. So that's going to be interesting on the recording for everybody else. We have lost Miranda Morales, and that'll be fun. So hopefully she rejoins the program. So I am, let's see, she's texting me right now. Yep, she should be back soon. Her screen froze. So welcome to technology. Hopefully she should be able to rejoin. She is already coming back, so I don't have to filibuster for too long because there she is. So
yes.
Welcome back to your show.
Thank you. Yes, it is my show. I appreciate that warm welcome.
So for those watching on YouTube, I just want to apologize right now because that means I got bigger on the screen, and I'm not apologizing for that because I'm working really hard. But that means there was this weird, like, the graphics don't change. So you've got Miranda's name and social media handle. You got my name, social media, all in the middle of a picture of me for like a minute, not even a minute. So now all is back to normal. Hey, man, it's technology. It's 2020. It's election night. It is what it is.
Yes, yeah, it is what it is. So, but, I'm sure Greg did a great job filibustering, letting all of the listeners and viewers know about Impact Zone Wrestling presenting NAV 30 on Saturday, November 21st at the Sun Studios of Arizona in Tempe, Arizona. And also letting you know that you can go to izwwrestling.com to get your tickets with limited VIP tickets available, general admission available as well. And of course, just encouraging all of our Arizona fans to make the trip out to Sun Studios of Arizona. And, well, you may be wondering, well, what if I'm not in Arizona? Well, there's a few other things that you can do. You can share IZW's posts on social media to let maybe people nearby. Maybe if you were in a nearby state in California or New Mexico or Colorado or Utah or Nevada, that, hey, you may want to make the trip out. It's a momentous special occasion, and I promise you it will be worth it, something that you will not see again for quite some time. But also, if maybe you can't come, well, there's something else that you can do that will both benefit IZW and thechairshot.com. And, well, that's going to prowrestlingtees.com/thechairshot. And there you can purchase your very own Impact Zone Wrestling or, I'm going to say and, but for some people it's but it's pretty much and your Chairshot t-shirts. Both are available at prowrestlingtees.com/thechairshot. And again, 25 different designs. You can get them in any style that you want, short sleeve, long sleeve, regular style, but of course, soft style is the way to go. It's a few extra dollars, but you will thank yourself when you are not only stylish, but comfortable. So go to prowrestlingtees.com/thechairshot, and you can get your very own IZW or Chairshot t-shirt. And a special note for those who are going to be wearing IZW t-shirts to the show, you can be eligible to win tickets to the next IZW show if you are wearing an IZW t-shirt at the show. So let me say that again. You come to the show, make sure you wear an IZW t-shirt, because then you could be entered into a drawing to win tickets for the next IZW show.
And let me clarify, because it's the most informal thing ever. I legit will just pick somebody and be like, hey, you wearing the IZW t-shirt, you just won tickets. Like, it's not a drawing. It could be a drawing, but I literally just find somebody at some point during the show who's wearing a t-shirt, and I'm like, hey, you won the tickets. We go over to the table, we give your information to Jen, and I email you VIP front row tickets to the next show. It's that easy. Yeah. So it's not even a drawing. Like it's literally just be there wearing your stuff, be seen, one person, 2 tickets for free. Tickets literally cost, a VIP ticket for this show was $30. You're getting 2 of them. That's $60. T-shirt costs $20.
Yep.
Literally tripling your investment just by, you get the shirt no matter what. All right. So you get what you paid for, and you could win free tickets on top of it. Come on.
That's just math for you.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Now back to your regularly scheduled t-shirt commercial.
Yes. Well, of course, like Greg said too, you can make an investment. $19.99 is how much shirts start off as. And if you wanted to invest a few extra dollars to get it in soft style, you absolutely can. But especially for those attending IZW, like Greg said, you can buy your t-shirt for $20. You can get picked at NAV 30 to win free tickets for the next show. And yeah, VIP, you're already doubling your investment. I mean, it's a big return on investment if we're talking, business talk here, because we business people here. But just make sure to go to prowrestlingtees.com/thechairshot. Also there, you can find your Chairshot t-shirts, some really cool logos and designs. One of my favorites is, of course, the OG Chairshot logo, multiple Always Use Your Head t-shirts, and of course, the Queen of Soft Style t-shirt is available for you to purchase. It looks beautiful. You can get it in short sleeve or sleeveless soft style and with sleeves, because we like to give you 2 options. A little bit of party, a little bit of business, whatever you like to do. But you can go and get your Queen of Soft Style t-shirt at prowrestlingtees.com/thechairshot. Remember, that is prowrestlingtees.com/thechairshot.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey folks, PC Tony here. Thanks to our new partnership with Angry Lemonade, you can save 10% on physical products and digital commissions using the promo code Chairshot. Head to angrylemonade.net to check out their amazing catalog of products and services. Use the promo code Chairshot to save 10%. That's angrylemonade.net.
Are you looking for the newest and hottest in the world of pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 6,000 hours of the best events from over 150 of your favorite promotions from 20 different countries around the globe. Brands like Progress Wrestling, Evolve Wrestling, Combat Zone, Defy, PCW Ultra, PWX, Over the Top, Shine, and hundreds of others with fresh content added every day for only $5.99 per month. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
Go to Powerslam.tv, promo code Chairshot. Get your free month. Again, that's Powerslam.tv, promo code Chairshot.
Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
I'm speechless. Come on, Rob, go with Rob Hill. Capitalize. We'll take it. Do it, Rob. Don't be proud, Rob. Go for it. Do it. There's no riff, though. Van Dam up top. We need a riff. Let it go. Yeah. Rob Van Dam. Going from parallel to perpendicular midair for the 5-star front splash. Come on, ref. Get up, Patrick. Get him up! Wake him up, Rob! We did a... Hey, cover! What the hell? Yeah, I guess. All right. Did we just see what I thought we just saw?
Yes. So I tease that we are going to be doing a blast.
There you go.
Yes, thank you. I tease that we are going to be discussing a blast from the past on tonight's episode of the hashtag Miranda Show. And yes, I definitely picked one that is certainly a blast from the past. I'll go into a second as to why I picked this match. But for those of you who may have heard that soundbite, but not sure what I'm talking about, I am talking about the match between RVD, Rob Van Dam, and John Cena for the WWE Championship at ECW's One Night Stand in 2006. And definitely as soon as, that match is spoken about, or especially hearing it, it definitely brings back memories. For me in particular, as someone who was just kind of getting back into wrestling at that time, I took a hiatus for a few years. But also, this match was way more about what was happening in the ring. And it was about the environment that One Night Stand projected. In the Hammerstein Ballroom, we had already gotten the official announcement that ECW was coming back full time as a third brand. And so there was this excitement in the air. The success of the 2005 One Night Stand just, made fans so excited. And it was a way for those hardcore wrestling fans to really live that ECW experience for one night. At the time, well, again, we got many nights after that, and we're not going to get much into the history of ECW after that. But one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is, as Greg mentioned, and as you may know, as we've talked about it, the night that we are recording this is election night, November 3rd. And, the world has been a crazy place this year, but for many of us over the past few months, been inundated with political ads, with phone calls, text messages. It's been somewhat of a hostile environment on social media, in person, people discussing and arguing about politics and social issues. I mean, up and down across the board. It's been kind of a hostile environment to be in, even with many of us still being at home, working from home, living from home, all of that. So the reason I keep mentioning the word hostile, because I jumped to this match as one of the most hostile environments I've ever seen. Some of it can be deemed entertaining, and for the most part, I really did at the time when this aired, just listening to the crowd and the chants. For a while, it was one of my favorite things about this match. But also now seeing it from a different perspective through time, and how hostile it was for someone like John Cena going in, knowing what to expect and not knowing what to expect at the same time. And the way that I think crowds have influenced wrestling over the years too, and how we don't have them anymore because of COVID, really just made me want to look back at this match and evaluate it from a different lens, but also, share a little bit of a historical context. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I mean, if someone can get out of the ECW One Night Stand 2006 crowd alive like John Cena did, then, maybe it means that we can all kind of get through our day a little bit. It's almost like that Britney Spears meme when she's shaving her head, like if Britney Spears can survive, I don't remember the year, maybe it was 2008, but, like Britney Spears can survive, that year, then you can survive today. It kind of got me on that same train of thought. But, I want to get, Greg, your initial thoughts. When I told you we were going to be discussing this, what were some of the first initial thoughts you had come up?
I mean, it's the crowd, number one. The if Cena wins, we riot sign. Like, that's famous.
That's the birthplace of it, really. That's
yeah, exactly. And of course, for years on this show, not this show, but on the Greg DeMarco Show, LOL Cena wins was a thing, and then of course became LOL Nikki wins and LOL Charlotte wins, like it is today. And it's LOL Cody wins as well. It's all is about John Cena. But this match also doesn't happen without John Cena. Like that's the thing, that when I remember this, when I think of this match, the first thing I honestly think about is John Cena and the role that he plays in this match, the role that he plays in the environment, the role he plays in the whole thing. And And I'm sure we'll talk about it more, so I don't want to go too far into it. But that's the first thing that comes to mind for me is actually John Cena, believe it or not, which is, one of the greatest professional wrestlers in the history of professional wrestling, whether people like him or not. And so this thing is actually more about John Cena than anything else for me.
Yeah. And I think that's fair because you're looking at it from the beginning of the match, the announcement is made that the match is going to be happening. And this was the storyline and just programmed for RVD. He had won the Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania earlier that year. And, he'd been Mr. Money in the Bank. And had his own cool logo and design and the whole thing. And so when the opportunity came up for him to cash it, he was one of the first few to actually designate a time. Most of the time, up until, this point and a few others, those cash-ins had been sudden. But he knew exactly when he wanted to do it, and that was going to be at ECW One Night Stand, because ultimately it's taking John Cena out of his element. Absolutely out of his element and putting him in an element where, again, you didn't know what to predict. And it was home for RVD, which was ECW One Night Stand. I think that element in storytelling was really good, and the crowd fed into it. I mean, if you've seen any ECW event in the Hammerstein Ballroom, you know what the crowds are like. But again, too, this was only the second time that this event was happening, and the crowd was thirsty, to kind of get at John Cena. This was also at the height of Super Cena, and fans were starting to get exhausted with him. And I would say fans, I think it's more of those hardcore fans, more of the, hardcore wrestling fan base. A lot of them adult males. You still had your females and your kids loving John Cena, and your adult males saying, I'm done with Super Cena. So this too was their opportunity to really say what they felt without any other noise coming in, because that was not an environment for women and children. And if you listen to some of those chants, you obviously know that it was not an environment for women and children. But Rob came out to a strong crowd audience. But as soon as Cena comes out, the boos come in. And Cena, he holds up the title with both hands and walks through, kind of his head down, but it's not necessarily out of fear. It was this, sense of, I'm here to own this. So John Cena's body language throughout the entrance upon second look and watching it now, was more of this jab of, hey, this may be your house, Rob Van Dam, but I still own this. I'm still going to do the same things I'm going to do. We saw that when he threw his T-shirt out in the crowd. Usually the crowd takes it, and the crowd threw it back. Like, that interaction, I've just never seen an interaction with a crowd that dynamic, with the boos, with the chants, with how descriptive the chants were. Beyond Cena sucks. There was some Cena swallows. There was, so many things. To this point, I don't think you could really have any televised, even pay-per-view audience say those things. It really was a rarity. It did feel like a little bit of lightning in a bottle with that crowd. But I think it was them being able to finally express their disdain and their dislike for John Cena.
And he ate it up. And that's why this match is so much about Cena. Like, I think he knew what he was going to encounter. And rarely in his career did Cena wear all black. And in this match, he wears all black. And so for him to come out in all black and to really flaunt that belt, knowing what was going to happen, but just he said it a lot, and you can kind of see it on his face sometimes. He thrives on that. He loves that reaction. He loves those interactions. And so for him to have this crowd to work off of, that was John Cena at his very best. And that just made the moment that we listened to for Rob Van Dam and for Paul Heyman and for ECW, the brand, and for that crowd, all that much better. If not for having a John Cena to hate, it doesn't work out so well. And that's why that event was so perfect and why you couldn't replicate it after the second one. After 2006, that thing was done. You couldn't do that again. It just wasn't possible. It topped out. It was too good. And that moment was just too amazing because of John Cena. And it had to be Rob Van Dam, I honestly think. I don't think it would have worked as well with anybody else. RVD never held the ECW Championship before then, so for him to get to do that, and he was kind of the guy that everyone thought would, but then he had opportunities outside of ECW and ended up going. Of course, he had injury while he was a television champion. So there's a lot of factors in Rob Van Dam's career, but this was it. And of course, this was also the high point of Rob Van Dam's career. Like this was his lone world title in WWE. He went on to hold it in TNA, but after, what happened the week after this basically made sure that Rob Van Dam was never going to be a world champion in WWE again. But this moment is one that no drug charge, no nothing could ever get taken away from Rob Van Dam. The moment was perfect. And how, there's lots of perfect moments in wrestling, but there's also very few perfect moments in wrestling if you think about the grand scheme of things and the percentages. Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30 comes to mind, and just so many other ones, and personal favorites and whatever. But this moment is one of those perfect moments in wrestling that should never, ever, ever be forgotten. And when Rob Van Dam goes into the Hall of Fame someday, and I believe he will, this moment should be talked about.
Yeah. And you bring up something I wanted to talk about, because Rob Van Dam recently did a Q&A with Pro Wrestling Junkies, and he was asked about, that match with John Cena at One Night Stand, and he applauded how John handled the crowd. He said, quote, I was confident from the start because those were my people. It felt great to have all that energy on my side, but Cena knew they were going to boo him out of the building. It was really cool to see how he reacted to and adapted to that kind of environment. It really impressed me, and everyone should be impressed by what a professional he is. And again, that's more in hindsight in this. I think that in the moment as a fan, especially whether you were there or you were watching, I think there was a collective fan base that was tired of Super Cena. They were exhausted by always seeing him go on top, always seeing him win, always seeing the same character, and not even seeing any change or dynamic, just seeing him really plow through the roster. So knowing, I think that too was that if Cena wins, we riot, which I think would have honestly happened. I believe that would have honestly happened. It is Absolutely. More of that, almost that feeling as a fan that you kind of, there was just no way, as much as, of the results of what happened with Rob Van Dam afterwards, or we know that regardless of how Rob Van Dam lost his title, we all knew that it was going to be one of a short reign for him, regardless. But the fact that WWE couldn't deny the presence and the environment in the Hammerstein Ballroom that night. For one moment, it felt like as a fan, whether you're that hardcore fan, you won. And you're going back to that, those perfect moments. I think that has something to do with it, that as a fan, you feel like you have a role and a place within the decision making, because especially at that time, the decisions were continuing to be made outside of the fans. It was being held with Vince McMahon and, that leadership. And it even really wasn't until revisiting that whole storyline with Daniel Bryan. And I know your thoughts about it was always supposed to happen, but as a fan, feeling that you have influence on the outcome of an event is a powerful thing, and reinvigorates your fandom. And I think that that's an important element too of the impact and the results of this match, that the fans in there, in that tiny ballroom, the tiny Hammerstein Ballroom, had such an effect, in that match and just in that history of ECW, to the point where, Cena lost that belt to RVD. I can't help but think that, and that's a positive of the crowd, and maybe that feeling and adulation of feeling like your boy or someone that you've watched come into this business, and someone who probably shouldn't have even gotten to WWE level, win the most prestigious title in all of pro wrestling.
I want to go back to one thing. I don't believe that the fans caused, WrestleMania 30 to change and Daniel Bryan to be world champion, but
I know.
And they didn't. And it's been written about, and Triple H has talked about it. However, the fans still caused that. They just caused it a year prior. Go back and watch WrestleMania 29 when Daniel Bryan and Kane retained the tag team championships. An entire football stadium is chanting yes. At that moment, I think WWE realized, okay, we have something here. Then they decided to tell the story they told by making the fans think they weren't going to get what they wanted. it was still about what the fans wanted. It was just that's what the storyline was built around it, and the fans' feelings were manipulated, and I'm okay with that because the payoff was there at the end. So don't think that the fans did not influence the WrestleMania 30 booking and main event. They just influenced it far earlier than people think. Same with this. I guarantee you when WWE was putting this together and they realized they could have John Cena and Rob Van Dam had Money in the Bank briefcase, I guarantee you there was never any doubt that Rob Van Dam was going to win. And,
yes.
And because of the aforementioned possibility for Riot, and it would have been nuts and it would have been bad. They would never be that stupid. We talk about how stupid they are and whatever. They would never be that stupid.
Yeah. No, and I think it's not necessarily the fans that night, but just the fandom of ECW fans. You know, I think that too, before we ever got into this AEW fandom and even indie fandom, there was ECW fandom, and it looks very different than fandom now. But the fact that it's so passionate to the point where it literally revived a dead promotion. You know, I mean, it really, as a wrestling fan, there are moments where you feel like you have some power. You feel like you can make a difference and you can make an impact, you know. Now, on the other side of this, though, upon looking at it in hindsight, we talked about John Cena being a fucking pro. I think really John Cena is one of the only people who would have been able to perform at the rate that he did in that environment. Really just, and I think he thrived upon it. And I think that he utilized it to his advantage. But outside of playing a villain or a heel, anyone going in there to just perform, I mean, man, that crowd was intense. It
happened to Rey Mysterio the year before. Yeah. When he just went in there to perform, he hit a 619 and the crowd shit all over it. Yeah. Because the 619 was not an ECW move. They viewed that as a WWE move, a less than believable move. And so they kind of viewed it in that manner. And so they didn't like it at all. They rejected it. And Ray admitted that after the fact, that he realized what he did and how he kind of, shouldn't have done the 619 in that audience, because that's not what the ECW faithful fell in love with. So I think that they got it right the second time around. That's for sure.
Yes. Yeah. And again, I mean, that's a big testament to John Cena. And I think now fans in hindsight recognize that more. Back when that first happened, even, several years after, it was more funny. And I still view it as somewhat funny because, never have I really heard a wrestling crowd in that succinct manner say and do the things that they did. And it was entertaining. And WWE knew it. And they, chalked it up. I mean, they took in every single ounce of that. It is sports entertainment through and through.
Yeah, I mean, CM Punk in 2011, Daniel Bryan in 2014. Yeah. And I don't know that it's really happened since.
Yeah.
It's not to that level. I think Becky Lynch came close.
Yeah.
But I don't think she quite hit that level.
Yeah. And again, it was a smaller audience. I feel like those other examples are huge audiences that I think, it's a little bit more challenging to do. And this one, again, was very more specific in their being vocal. And again, I feel like they probably felt that they were just saying all the things that all these other serious pro wrestling fans felt about John Cena. But also in hindsight now, I can't ever imagine that flying. No. Really any big promotion, even AEW, as much as they like to push the envelope, I think that there's so much just different expectations set by wrestling promotions and fans now, where the lines are a little bit more blurred. And even if you don't like someone, it doesn't get to that level. And I think that that's okay. I think that there's other ways to showcase that and to not like someone, than to do some of the things that, the crowd did at One Night Stand in 2006. But again, what else did you expect? It seemed like it was just part of the master plan in a way, for all of it to come together the way that it did. And again, as fans, to feel like you finally are getting a match where you're feeling heard as a fan.
I feel like I'm going to say something that could almost kind of wrap things up a little bit. I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself. So I guess I'm asking you before I do that because of what this really was in terms of what this match really was for that crowd and the performers and everything else.
So repeat the question, because you cut off for a second.
Are we? What I'm going to say is almost kind of, I don't want to say it's like putting a bow on the topic, but it sums up a lot of what this truly was. Yeah.
No, go ahead and say it, because I have a few more just minor things to.
This was less. It was very much about the match, but ECW. You talked about AEW, and I'm so glad you did. AEW is easy to find. AEW is on TNT. It's all over YouTube. It's all over social media. When ECW came up, you had to work for that. You had to trade tapes. You had to set your VCR to record at 2:00 in the morning. If you had it locally, even when it was on TNN at the time, which was the national network, it was still on a terrible time slot.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's my first exposure to it, when it was on TNN. And that was when it was slowly.
I went, when I lived in Richmond, Virginia, where I grew up, I went to an ECW taping at the time towards the end, and it was still ruckus and still crazy and still a blast. And they were giving away tickets on the corner to get people to go. Like, I had every intention of buying two $30 tickets to that event, and instead someone handed me a flyer for free tickets, and so I didn't buy two $30 tickets. But it's just so much like that's why that fan base was the way it was. Like, there was something special. You couldn't just show up. You could just declare yourself as a mutant. Like, you had to somewhat earn it, and to be a mutant, which is what the ECW fans were, meant something. And if you think about the actual end of ECW, they never got a proper end. Like, it went belly up because it's capitalism, like we've talked about on the Greg DeMarco Show this week. That kind of took it away, and talent needed to go other places, and you hit a point where you're trying to grow the company but can't financially, and then people need to leave so they can make their own money, and it just kind of fizzled out in a way that wasn't the proper send-off for ECW. So that's what this was. The first One Night Stand was supposed to be that, but it really wasn't. But when their guy, the guy who's most synonymous with ECW, captures the WWE Championship and beats John Cena, the guy, Super Cena, in the middle of one of the most famous ECW venues ever, that was the proper send-off that ECW fans deserved. Mm-hmm. And I think they knew it was coming, and they were ready for it, and they got it. It was just sometimes it's okay to know what's going to happen and then have it happen. And this was the perfect way to send off ECW. WWE ECW never should have happened, in hindsight. Yeah. Even though I've suggested bringing back ECW back as a brand now, we're talking about, 18 years after it died, and 14 years after this, and after when it came back. At the time, it was way too soon to bring ECW back. Look how long it took them to bring back WCW stuff, like we just experienced with the Great Halloween Havoc show that NXT did. It's now, I think people will be more open to it. This was the proper ending for ECW that the fans never got. And John Cena, Rob Van Dam, Paul Heyman, Vince McMahon, everybody involved gave it to him, and they gave it to him in the most perfect way possible. And that's really what this was. It was about Cena, it was about Rob Van Dam, but this is really about giving the ECW mutants the proper send-off for the company they love so much. And honestly, companies don't usually end on a high note. That's just not the way business works. Yeah, and so for WWE to do that when they didn't really have to, and I guarantee you that show probably didn't make money because it was such a small venue and a really expensive venue to run, I can tell you that. And so it was more about the branding, but really about the proper ending for ECW.
Yeah. And, I think that's such a good way to view it on a historical level as well. Because, after that, we did get the revamp of ECW, and that did not end on a high note. So, history did fall out the way that it did. But also, I think it's almost a reflection. Sometimes in life, you were either the ECW crowd or you're John Cena. And some days you have fight in you. You can, scream to the mountaintops. You can, just enjoy yourself and have a good time. And sometimes the world is out to get you, and you hear all these crazy, terrible things. So I do stress, if John Cena can survive ECW One Night Stand 2006, then, we can, survive this tomorrow, the past, the future, everyone can kind of survive that as well. But also, some of the best moments kind of feel like the craziest ones as well. And we have those glimpses of being able to look back at the past and just being able to reflect on how it's impacted the future. I think, even hardcore fans now have much stronger respect for John Cena based off of everything that he's done. But hell, I still love going back to that match and hearing the fans and everything that they have to say. And I do believe that it was Rob's time to have that title, even if it was a short amount of time, because that just set things up for the future and just that nice shift to in the WWE for different things and even just, just to kind of have that stopgap in that program between Edge and John Cena, he was the primary reason why, RVD won that title too. So that kind of shook things up. But, I think ultimately it was just more of a way, looking back at this match was just, one, the hostility of it is still insane, something I don't think we'll ever see in wrestling again. But also a cool reflection as, now fans who've seen it all, being able to go back to things like that and enjoy the moment, but also appreciate what people like John Cena did in the environment to keep their cool and continue on with the quality match. And again, sometimes you are the ECW crowd and sometimes you are John Cena, but know that either way you'll be able to get through it.
Lucha-Masks.com by Pro Wrestling Revolution, bringing you, in partnership with Masked Republic, the Lucha Brothers, as well as Japanese legend Ultimo Dragon. Go to Lucha-Masks.com and fight Lucha Strong with masks from your favorite Lucha legends and Pro Wrestling Revolution luchadores. Stay safe in style and represent your favorite luchador. Get yours now at Lucha-Masks.com, powered by Pro Wrestling Revolution.
This is your boy Kenny Killer telling you to make sure you check out thechairshot.com, bringing you breaking news, interviews, podcasts galore, everything pro wrestling. Make sure you check it out, thechairshot.com.
Wild card, bitches!
I mean, I had to play it at some point. Like, I can't.
Yes, no, we had to. Real quick, so I started this item of the week segment. It hasn't been as continuous as before, but you know what? I figured because I've been plugging Pro Wrestling Tees, I could plug something from them that also is, well, it kills two birds with one stone, showing you some of my items of the week and plugging ProWrestlingTees.com. So these up here, these are all pins that I got from ProWrestlingTees.com. This is actually, well, it is part of a little grab bag that you can get when you do have an order. And I never ordered pins from them before, so I thought, why don't I do this? This was quite some time. So I even have a little pin collection. I guess I may as well get this one out there too. So these are the 3 pins that I have as my mini pin collection. And these were random from the grab bag. This first one is a Chainsaw Charlie pin. Right there, you could see that. Cool Chainsaw Charlie pin. And no, I didn't take them out of the packaging because I'm that person. Another one is a former, well, this used to be Villain Enterprises. I don't know if they exist anymore. I don't think so.
Probably not.
Yeah, Villain Enterprises pin as well. And then we got the hashtag FTR. This is still, I think, the most relevant pin I have right now. So those are all pins that I got from a random grab bag, but I have up here behind me so you can always look and celebrate my wrestling fandom. This pin is a little different. This is something that I got when I went to my very first and only NWA taping in Atlanta, Georgia last fall. I got this NWA pin. You kind of see it. There you go. Right there. But I also got an NWA shirt, but this was really cool because I've said before, I'm a West Coast kid that grew up with 90s wrestling. So the NWA had no presence in my life for many, many years until I was, rediscovering wrestling and more content became available online. So I never thought I'd go to an NWA show. And when they relaunched it back in last fall, and I just happened to be in Atlanta on the second day of taping, I knew I had to go. And it was well worth it. It was very cool to see the studio, to be part just of that studio audience, to see some of the surprises that we had and received, and kind of seeing now in hindsight what the NWA was trying to shoot for prior to the pandemic, and kind of the success that it had, and not even knowing how successful it was going to be being a part of that studio audience. But it was definitely a bucket list experience for me. And so I will always cherish this in particular as the time that I got to experience the NWA. And we don't know. Who knows if it's going to be back? There's lots of things about it that we're not sure. But, it's, again, sometimes it's okay to look at the past, to remember the past, to enjoy the past, and to remember it. So that's my items for the week. Go to prowrestlingtees.com/thechairshot. And also, as you are getting your order, you can get some cool pins, variety pack, surprise, mystery pack items. But I do want to end this show on another topic that came out earlier this week. We talked about it a little bit last week as we did a review of Bound for Glory from Impact Wrestling. In particular, a message that Kylie Rae put out on her Patreon regarding her status with wrestling. So jumping back to Bound for Glory, it was announced that Kylie Rae was going to be facing Deonna Purrazzo for the Knockouts Championship. When the event came, Kylie Rae was not there, and we ended up having an open challenge from Deonna Purrazzo where Su Yung came out and defeated her and became the new Knockouts champion. After that, there was a lot of speculation online as to why Kylie Rae wasn't there. And there was just lots of speculation left and right. So from all different places. And so it's not so much about the speculation that I want to talk about, but Kylie Rae earlier this week put an announcement on her Patreon that explained or gave some more insight as to where she's at and kind of where she's going now. And specifically, she put this for her Patreon members and stated that she is no longer a professional wrestler and currently taking a break from social media. That's the big news that came out of it. But the letter itself was heartful because there was other information that she shared to give some more insight as to, how is she doing. But she starts off stating that I'm truly sorry for the pain I've caused and miscommunication. I'm currently unwell. I'm also sorry that I wasn't able to get this out before your monthly subscription charge. So in reference to Patreon, they have those subscription charges at the beginning of the month. And so she wasn't able to get this out and close her account prior to that. But this, came out very heartfelt. And again, she mentions her second line is, I wanted to take the time to say I'm no longer a professional wrestler and I'm currently taking a break from social media. It has been a very hard decision to make, but please understand. When I'm well, I will try to fulfill any obligations I have missed. And she talks about just her Patreon account as far as allowing fans to unsubscribe, encouraging them if they like, and then just thanking them for their understanding. So a big aspect of that is this wasn't anything that, she shared this information. She provided that to her subscribers on Patreon and shared this message, which took, a lot of people by surprise. That really took the wrestling community by surprise. But at the same time, I found it to be incredibly brave that she was so open about, where she's at and not being in a place right now where she can continue working as a professional wrestler and also taking a break from social media. We talked about, how this year and this time of year in particular is very overwhelming, even from the comfort of your own home to be on social media and even to do your own job, because of so many factors, and how both the pandemic and just other factors have impacted our day to day, and especially our health has taken a toll for many, many people. And whether it's your work life, whether it's your relationships and your family, your friendships, your income, all of that, all of those things can put a strain on doing what you enjoyed to do, or just living your life. And so for me, I just wanted to talk about this because I believe for me, it's a way to kind of honor her and just her willingness to share, just what is happening with her and the strength that she has to say, I'm putting things on pause for a while, and kind of just taking some time to take care of herself. And that's something that I don't think we as people often think about, or are afraid to think about, or share in such a public forum. But I think that if anything, what we can take away is, of course, about her career and, what she's done in women's wrestling and her time at Impact and all the memories, but also as a way to say, if she's strong enough to say something, maybe I should say something too when things become too much. And that way people know what is happening, at least the people that care about you, the people that need to know, but it's a struggle. And I've struggled with a lot of things over this year that have made me really reevaluate so many decisions in my life. I'm still going through it. And it's also impacted how I view my work as a podcaster and an announcer, and where I see my future. I can absolutely see how all those things, those aspects in life influence what you want to do. So for me, it was just very important to not only commend Kylie, but say thank you for just sharing something that is so personal and kind of being vulnerable in that, but also being strong enough to say, what is best for you, and doing what is best for you.
Yeah, it sucks, obviously. And the thing that sucks for me is that this came out because her Patreon got charged. And I don't think that was intended for, I don't think it was something she was thinking about. And their Patreon gets charged. It's like, oh crap. But, whatever the reason it came out. And it's, this is a time of year for me that's always going to be salient because of what happened a year ago for me, which we've talked about on the air before, and about, and that same thing. And that I've been very public with, and I still don't have the social media apps on my phone. I have to log on every time I want to go in and do something, and it's done on purpose. But for her situation, like it's just, I feel terrible because this business, and this is something you and I have talked about privately, this business does not care about you. The wrestling business has no feelings. The business owes you nothing. It's something that you hear all the time. And basically, very few people leave this business better off than when they entered. And it just stinks. And it will chew you up and spit you out, and then it'll be on to the next person. And that's just the way many businesses work, including the professional wrestling business. And it did that to Kylie Rae. And I hate that. There's so much about how she left AEW that hasn't been talked about enough. And there's somebody in that company that's so revered and so beloved and did something so terrible. And it's just is not held accountable for it whatsoever because white dudes. And I hate it. And that's why she left the company. But this is a bigger thing even than that because of the situation that she's in. Sometimes wrestling is such an environment that's so unique. And like I said, it just chews you up and spits you out. Sometimes you just got to go and be a normal person. And you can't always do that in wrestling. I can do that in wrestling. Miranda can do that in wrestling. But we have a lot of normal people conversations that you guys don't hear on the air. And same with me and Patrick and me and other people. When I revealed what I revealed a year ago on social media, a lot of people messaged me with their own things that are very non-wrestling and told me stories about themselves and realized they could talk to somebody. Kylie Rae is a human being. Kylie Rae is an individual. She's, as far as I know, she's engaged to a wrestler in the Chicago area. I think she needs to go and be a normal person and not Kylie Rae the wrestler. And I drop a real name, but I hate that somebody did that online because that was the first time I'd seen it. And I don't believe in that. And I have a feeling she didn't want it to get out. So I'm not going to. But she needs to go get a normal job if she doesn't have one and just go do her thing, be a normal human being. And I hope she does. And I hope she finds that happiness because I think she truly loved performing. I think she's one of those people who I honestly think the character was both a big part of who she was and also very therapeutic for her and who she was as an individual. And unfortunately, when a character becomes that important to the person playing the character, it can also be very detrimental. And I think that happened to her as well. I hope she can go out and live a normal life. I don't believe we're ever going to see her in AEW, in WWE, in Impact Wrestling or whatever. But I think you might see her again in like a freelance wrestling where she's actually currently the freelance heavyweight champion because that's local to her. There's no travel involved. That's kind of her ECW fan base. She's like the Rob Van Dam of freelance wrestling in a lot of ways. And I think she can go there and be happy and perform down the road when she's ready. The term fan is short for fanatic. And I think some people will start to ask too many questions about Kylie Rae and just wonder too much and not want to take, you don't need to know for an answer. Leave her be, man. Leave her be. Give her the time she needs. Support her when she asks for it and leave her alone when she's not. And hopefully because it's not about you as a fan of Kylie Rae. I'm sorry. Maybe your Patreon, you got charged for an extra month of Patreon. That sucks. Okay, whatever. But in the long run, just like the business owes us nothing, Kylie Rae owes us and everyone else nothing. I hope she's able to come back and find that joy at that freelance level, but I more hope she can live a normal life and be a happy person because that's really what matters. None of this matters outside of that. So the business sucks. That's why this happened. But Kylie Rae deserves a chance to be a normal person and be happy and be healthy.
And I think that this episode in particular has very different dynamics because we just finished talking about, one of the most hostile crowds in wrestling history and how it influenced and made an event better. But yet we also are in a time where people are on social media saying completely hateful and inappropriate things to each other, to wrestlers, to anybody. And I think that that's such a, I think that that's important for us to look at things in a historical manner and really look at ways for us to evolve and change and be better and do better. That, yes, that was 2006 and the world was a different place and social media was a different place and wrestling was in a different place. I still agree that there's no way any audience could do or say that now, and nor should it. Should that happen again? And the same thing with social media, that type of negativity and really just hateful, messaging shouldn't be happening. And social media can absolutely be overwhelming, especially as a female. Not that I have any of the same kind of capacity of people messaging me or talking to me. And it can be a really great tool, but it also can be a scary place when you just want to have genuine interactions with people and you don't know what their intentions are, what they want from you, all of that. So, that's in it of itself, its own level. But I do think it's important that we just do our best as fans to be the best representatives of wrestling, of our fandom, of being fanatics, and show that pro wrestling is a good community. Because I've met some of the best people in the world because of wrestling, whether it's through podcasting, whether it's through performing, whatever. I've met some people that I genuinely call friends, and there's people out there that are genuinely good people, but sometimes it can just be clouded and overshadowed by the negative. But I also think it's also important for us, when we need help or just unsure, to reach out to your community, to your people. And like Greg mentioned, I know this time of year is a challenge. And I always admire Greg for sharing what he shared. And anyone who just shares anything about their life that makes them feel like they're in a vulnerable position, but know that growth can happen from it. So, for me, the point of this was not to add any more speculation on it, to guess what's going to happen. It's more of an opportunity to thank her for just being open about it, thank her for the work that she's done. And also, as Greg mentioned, just, put that message out there to let her be, to let her have this life. That's the best way that we can support her. And a lot of people in these scenarios is just let them live their life, to give them that space and that time and not worry about when is she ever coming back into the ring if she is. That's not our place. That's not our story. It's just more as someone, if you're a true fan and someone who truly respects not only her, but professional wrestling, again, appreciating what's happened and letting them live their life. So, yeah. Again, this is a weird dynamic for tonight's show, but I think that there's a lot of good messaging throughout it, because it's important. You got to evaluate and look at the past. You got to look at these things, and you can make better decisions to tomorrow. And this truly is a chaotic time. By the time we finish this and this post, I don't know what the world is going to look like. We really don't. So maybe this is a great way for you just to take a break from some of that. Maybe you do listen actively, and I appreciate that. I really do. And this is truly, it is a podcast that does talk about wrestling, but it also focuses on other stuff. And I love how to tie in wrestling into the real world, into your day-to-day, because it always will have a place for it. But also know, as a human, as a person, you're not alone in these things. There are so many people out there that may feel some of the same way that you do, or are experiencing challenges right now that may feel very overwhelming and you don't know what to do. And just know that, take the steps that you need to take in order to work through that. And whether that is just confide in someone, seek professional help, find guidance through books or, programs or whatever it is. I'm not here to tell you how to fix it. I think there's solutions and guidance in all different ways. But I think it's just more of an avenue to know that pro wrestling can be such a healthy avenue for it, if you let it be a healthy avenue, if you make a conscious effort for it to be a healthy avenue for you. And sometimes if it's not healthy for you, it's okay to take a step back and evaluate and see if it's meant for you at this time. And it's okay to take a step back, and it's okay to take a step forward. It really is in any of those ways. So thank you, Greg, for joining me as always and being such an amazing co-host. Make sure to check out Greg. I didn't even give our social media handles at the beginning of the show. No, we got so caught up in IZW and all of that. But yes, you can follow Greg at Chairshot Greg on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can follow me, Miranda Morales, on Instagram and Facebook at the #Miranda. Again, I'm the Twitterless heroine, so I got no Twitter for you. But sometimes I creep on the Chairshot's Twitter account at Chairshot Media. Every time there's a takeover, maybe not this upcoming takeover, but
it's not going to be the night of the IZW show. It's in December now.
Oh, well then maybe in December I'll be on there.
They heard us and they were like, yes. Oh, we'll move it for you.
We'll move it. Yes.
Appreciate that.
So make sure you follow the Chairshot's Twitter account at Chairshot Media. That may be when I come up on Twitter every so often. And of course, you can go to thechairshot.com, which is your source for wrestling news, analysis, and opinions.
Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
And of course, make sure if you are listening to this show on one of your favorite podcast streaming platforms like Spotify, Google, iTunes, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. So that way you get notified every time an episode drops. You review, of course, 5-star review, because you love me and you want to leave me a 5-star review. That would be super. And rate and review. You can leave feedback as to what your thoughts on the show are, any suggestions and recommendations on future topics. So for Greg DeMarco, I'm Miranda Morales. thank you so much for listening to this week's edition of the Hashtag Miranda Show. And don't forget to keep it soft style.